You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis show. And here on Newsfile, we put Ghana first. My guests have been Abdul Malik Kwekubako, editor-in-chief of the New Crusading Guide newspaper, Professor Godfrey Bokwing, economist at the University of Ghana, Isaac Adongo, MP, member of the Finance Committee of Parliament, Dr. Gideon Buako, who is spokesperson to the Vice President, and he deals with matters of economy, taught in this subject area at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. And a production make me understand that on the phone right now, rather to start with, is Idrisu Mahama, an investment banker and chartered accountant. He has some concerns about the Bank of Ghana's position on Belstar matters of ADB shares. Thank you very much for joining us, Idrisu Mahama.
Thank you very much, and good morning to your listeners.
Right. Now, we know that the Bank of Ghana has taken a number of measures against the, in effect, is done an annulment of the, an annulment of the share, is a share purchase that has happened as far as the ADB is concerned and Belstar is concerned. You know, Belstar had apparently, been the one that had taken up some responsibility for the Unibank. And then we're told that a number of things have happened that have not been best practice. And so the Bank of Ghana issued a statement and annulled that particular share transaction. Belstar also issued a statement suggesting that the things that Bank of Ghana was talking about were untrue. For example, it noted that the claim that emergency funds were used, emergency funds that were supplied by the Bank of Ghana were used to obtain the Unibank and given to Belstar's consortium in the form of a loan. They said that was clearly untrue. So what are your issues? Because people feel that this is the way the Bank of Ghana ought to go and be proactive and ensuring that we do not have problems with the financial sector to affect the economy.
Good morning once again. I want to start by saying that Bank of Ghana has its function, NIC has its function, the Securities and Exchange Commission has its function. Bank of Ghana gave a press release with all the allegations and the reasons why they are suspending and returning the shares back. We as investment bankers, including me, think that there are a lot of things when I look at their statements, will have some things wondering whether it is true or not.
Okay, so address them quickly.
Yeah, basically we have two things. On the stock market, or looking for money from the public, we have the primary market and we have the secondary market. The secondary market is being monitored and approved by the Ghana Stock Exchange. The primary market is a duty of the Securities and Exchange Commission. Now they talk about not getting approval before acquiring that. There's no approval to list the bank on the stock exchange without approval for two things. That some shareholders can hold above 10%. And normally we use the word significant shareholding. Significant shareholding is 10% and above. And no entity will approve the list of the largest 20 shareholders of an IPO. A bank without those approval. One, you have to get approval from Bank of Ghana to hold more than 10. Two, go for approval from Ministry of Finance and Bank of Ghana for what we call exchange control. Exchange control use one foreign investor or even players who are sitting outside invest pay the legal power to transfer their dividends out and subject to approval. So Bank of Ghana statement that they didn't get approval. For me, I don't think it is correct. And they have to come back again because have companies who are still involved in the IPO. ICCT is there, Belstar is licensed by Securities and Exchange Commission, is licensed by Securities and Exchange Commission, and SIC is licensed by Securities and Exchange Commission. Number two, if we look, they said the funds were coming from the emergency fund. Now, if the amount given to Unibank was probably, say, 500 million, which I know is about 850 million, Unibank at the time that the emergency fund came has deposited up to 3 billion. What is the guarantee that the funds that were used to give out the loan to buy the shares actually come from an emergency fund of 850 million and not the 3 billion deposit?
Okay.
Me and you know that anybody who is going to borrow funds will borrow at the lowest cost and not at the highest cost. Emergency fund doesn't come at the interest rate of deposited. It probably comes between not less than 24, 25, 26%. And so therefore, let's assume that for the benefit of doubt, the bank actually is dealing with funds that have lower cost, and that the funds that they used to include for the shares report didn't come from emergency funds. Number two, they said they bought the shares from something trust that was holding. If you look at the number of shares that were, there is offer for subscription and those that come from old shareholding. There's 75 million and there's 74 million. What is the guarantee that Belstar, EDC, and SIC Financial actually bought their shares from that was sold by the trust and not the offer for subscription? Let's take MTN. MTN is selling the original shareholders. His shareholding has reduced from 95% to 63%. This one has reduced from 0.10 to 0.08. That gives a total of almost 30 million. If I go and buy 200,000 shares, what is the guarantee that I bought from the original shareholder or the amount that they are selling additionally to raise the money? You can't definitely tell. Commercial papers have guidelines in this country by ethics. Before you can do any commercial paper to raise money, you have to include those guidelines. If Bank of Ghana go back to ethics, you see that whether they actually breach the rules and guidelines of commercial papers to acquire the funds to be able to do that. They didn't do that.
Okay.
In any case, it is Security and Exchange Commission that needs to issue that.
Okay.
The third point is that you can't go.
And that will be a final point for us. Thank you.
Bank of Ghana doesn't have business with our secondary market. This is shares being traded on the stock market. This is not the first time. They did that sometimes when there was an ATM on cars and somebody traded his shares. Bank of Ghana nullifies the trade. No, they don't have business with secondary market. Even though it is a bank, that share did not give more than 10% of shareholding to the person who was buying or the person who was selling.
Okay.
But they nullify it.
I see. Interesting there. Thank you. I'll let my guest interrogate this quickly. Yes, so Prof, does he have legitimate point? He starts from a point of saying that the Bank of Ghana cannot claim that it is annulling this because something wrong was done, when in fact it was the entity that ought to have given certain approvals. So the question he's asking is, where were they? Because they are not saying now that we did something wrong and we have changed our mind. He says that if you say that they use some of the liquidity support funds that came from the Bank of Ghana, there too you are wrong. You cannot be correct because they needed, is it 180, and they had over 300 of their own funds, 3 billion of their own funds in deposit. So how are you able to determine that they took the money you gave to support them, or that they took actually their money that was sitting there? So these are some of the questions that he's raising. Of course, we know that as we speak, Unibank is being, as it were, run by KPMG. They, through Belstar and its consortium, had acquired shares in ADB and taking about 50%, holding. And then they had appointed, as it were, some people to also be there. We understand all those who were holding, offices on the board all have to step aside.
Yes, that's interesting. When I first saw the release from the central bank, I was a little bit curious, but I didn't have much doubt about what they had done.
Okay.
I want to believe that in the last couple of years, the central bank has been diligent in terms of their focus in the financial sector and all of that. But when I saw the other statement from the other entities, it set me thinking. But I I believe that there are issues that they have raised that perhaps the legal system would have to address that. We may not be able to resolve that here.
Okay.
I want to believe that the central bank has done its work quite thoroughly. What I gather from here is perhaps an intention that maybe wasn't made known to the central bank, that we want to take over this bank. And therefore, the idea was that if I decide to go directly, it will not be approved. So I'm going to use 3 legs. I do a certain percentage, do a certain percentage, and then later we can put everything together. And now we would announce that we have taken over this bank without perhaps clearly making that intention known to the central bank, whom I believe also has a responsibility by their own regulation and all of that in terms of how some of these things are done. And I want to believe that that may be part of the reason why.
And would that have been a legal arrangement which offends any law?
I'm not a lawyer.
That you have intention of taking over and someone is floating shares, and then 3 of you bring your strengths together, and then you take it separately, and then later you will come back together as one and take control. What would be wrong with that?
Well, I'm not a lawyer,
okay, so this is supposed to be brief. Yes. Briefly, Isaac, and then we'll get Gideon to very briefly so that we'll get to
I think that without any shred of doubt, that was a wrong move. A completely wrong move. There is no missing words about it. Listen, I have seen the transaction record of Unibank on the day that the shares, the amount was given. On that day when they gave the 400 million, 3 other banks on the interbank market had given Unibank 350 million Ghana cedis. The total shares in question were bought at 320 million Ghana cedis. So even the interbank borrowing was enough to settle that transaction. Now, this was an overnight arrangement. On the 5th of December. On the 6th, the liquidity funds were paid back. So how on earth could you have taken short-term to buy long-term and the next day you settle? It was a 1-day overnight transaction between the Bank of Ghana and Unibank.
You are saying that the funds that the Bank of Ghana gave
was an overnight
to support the liquidity was paid back
the next day. It was an overnight transaction, and I've seen the record.
So it cannot be that
it cannot be.
Okay.
And I'm saying that even apart from that, they had 3 other banks on the interbank market that had given them 350 million. The shares were bought for 320 million. So even the interbank funds were enough. Okay. That is the first point. So clearly, to suggest that this is where the money came from is far-fetched. Not even dealing with the deposits of their clients. That is the first one. The second issue is that
your second should be your last point on this. We want to.
I wish I had a lot to do with this because it's a very critical issue. The second one is that ADB was supposed to have an annual general meeting the next day. And everybody knows that there have been disagreements among shareholders of ADB for a very long time. Then the Bank of Ghana steps in to resolve a boardroom disagreement on the eve of an annual general meeting. Third one, the other shareholders had agreed to sell their stake, which is valued at over 800 million in July, this very month, to support Unibank to resolve its challenges. Then you annul it, so Unibank...
800 million what?
800 million Ghana cedis from the sale of these shares to now support Unibank as part of its arrangement, to resolve the challenges that it is having in order that it can return to the shareholders. Then in that July, you annul the shares and put Unibank in a position that they cannot meet their requirement, so you can put it down. Look, there are several things on this bank that I wish we had time to discuss. Bank of Ghana should stop this regulatory hostility against Unibank and people who are interested in helping Unibank to survive. Why? Since when did the Bank of Ghana get involved in how I deal with my clients? Since when? The Bank of Ghana now determine who I give my credit to and then go over my head to annul the transaction that was undertaken by my client.
When there are problems,
What are the
we
problems?
run to them and accuse them of not exercising sufficient controls and oversight responsibility.
Is that the control? The control is that the facts just don't speak to what we are doing. You know what? These banks are struggling to recapitalize.
Do you remember President Mama blaming them
Let me make
for not doing
let
their
me make
job
this
well
point. Let me make
on
this
the back of
Yeah,
the
but
issues?
let me make this point. Yes, you can blame them, but I'm saying this is a specific matter. I'm saying that the banks are struggling to attract investment to recapitalize. Which investor out there wanting to come and invest in a bank in Ghana is aware that ADB shareholding disagreements on the eve of an annual general meeting, they annul the shares, transfer the shares to financial trust of the central bank, and you think that that augurs well for confidence of investors to bring money to support local banks that are looking for the money? Which investor sitting out there will read this narrative and bring his money to Ghana to invest in banks?
You are simply saying this is not genuine. What else could
This
it be?
is not genuine.
What could it be? What would be the
This
motivation?
is calculated. The motivation is that Unibank must go down.
Why?
Why? Because they know why. Listen, we're told that Unibank was a turnaround project. Were we not told that KPMG went there as a turnaround project? Today, is Unibank a turnaround project or a company on its way out of business?
Okay, Gideon, quickly on this and let's go. Yes.
So, these are sensitive issues.
Very sensitive.
Before then, I wish to put on record that I've gone through the Public Financial Management Law. That is Section 56 of the law. And it lists the requirements for a loan approval in Parliament. Value for money audit is not part of it. That's what's said by
So that's why they are not being given.
Exactly. Exactly. It's not part. I have the PF with me. I have the law. The law does not. Please, let me.
You want to read the specific section?
Exactly. These are specific. So section 56.
Right.
1. I don't know how. They said the terms and conditions of all government borrowing shall be laid before Parliament and shall not come into operation unless the terms and conditions are approved by a resolution of Parliament in accordance with Article 181 of the Constitution. For the purpose of Section 1, Parliament may from time to time, by resolution, approve standard terms and conditions for government borrowing, including the following, and list 22 of them. 22 of such items. I think brevity of time will not allow me to go through it. So, on this bank matter, it is a very sensitive matter. And so when I see people approach it with political colors, I get worried. We have seen the new crop of leadership at the central bank bringing some credibility and discipline within the banking system to ensure sanity. That does not have anything to do with politics. Why would anybody think that for a moment, let us collapse an indigenous bank? I am constrained in this particular instance not to say much as my colleague here decided to do and to do it along the political lines, because I am part of the board of a state agency that is also part of the shareholders of ADB. And so I have full brief, I have adequate knowledge on this matter. And if we read the Bank of Ghana statement, they said that some of the transactions were done under questionable circumstances. You see, when the Bank of Ghana uses such words, they are not for nothing. He's talking about the fact that some of the companies or agencies that own shares at ADB had agreed to sell. Go and find out whether or not the decision to even offload those shares had the backing of the board of those agencies. I'm a board member of one of them. And I'm telling you, let us not go there.
I wish
we may want to do politics with this, but I have adequate briefing and information on this whole transaction. I don't want to open the box, and I'm constrained because
the public is deserving of the information.
I don't think as part of a board, this is why I need to communicate this, and I don't have the mandate on the board to communicate things that I said I've so and
your own institution.
You understand? So please don't go there.
From them.
You see, we are making the thing look so pedestrian with politics, and when we do that, at the end of the day, it is Ghana that loses. We need to protect and make sure that
you have said politics many times here, but
did I mention any politics?
Exactly.
I don't remember politics.
Is it because he belongs to a political
party?
party?
He says that it is a deliberate attempt to collapse Unibank.
Did I mention government attempts?
But who?
Central Bank.
You see, you don't have to do that.
Is that political? Is Central
What
Bank
you are saying is to pitch one angle or one point of the state against the other.
Okay, so that's not political.
You don't have to do that.
Right.
So you are an honorable member of parliament.
Listen,
you don't have to
I wish I had
make that argument here.
Matter. I have more information
you don't
than
have.
you think on
You
this
don't.
matter.
And even if we have, let us communicate
Your
the information.
I have more information about your organization that you said just joined the board.
Let us communicate
I know a lot about what happened there.
So there's a difference between
somebody cannot work for several years and somebody uses the stroke of the pen to collapse everything. And you think that we should be encouraging this Ghanaian entrepreneurship? We can't encourage that.
There is a sharp.
I feel very emotional about this.
Thank you.
There is a sharp emotional intelligence here. There is a sharp difference between having the knowledge and communicating from knowledge. We have to be careful the way we communicate.
You may not be comfortable.
This is a banking issue.
Okay,
and
what is banking
I don't expect you to communicate this one here.
Lots of things to deal with.
And so you are only trying to just make mountain out of a molehill.
I'm sure Kweku will comment briefly on this because as for Kweku, his point has been, please don't drive the indigenous banks down if it's possible.
Yeah. See, I have insufficient information relative to what we are discussing.
Okay.
Also, not enough education.
Okay.
But my instincts make me uncomfortable. You get me?
Your instincts make you uncomfortable.
Yes. And I know instincts are no substitute for the facts and science. I know. But I don't feel comfortable. And I have to be honest. So maybe I need to do more double checking and more information gathering. But I just feel uncomfortable that if we are not careful, we may end up with an indigenous bank collapsing. And a very fine bank, in my candid opinion. So maybe I need to do more research. But I can be honest with you, my instincts as I sit here, I'm not comfortable with what is going on. It's as simple as that.
Okay, so Kweku doesn't want to get into any troubles. He just wants to stay there. Hopefully, it looks like the matter is not ending anytime soon. From Prof's point of view, it does appear we may want to expect certain things in court. From Isaac's point of view,
let me put on record. And I want Gideon to listen to me. I respect the president's position in this matter. And I'm very grateful to him for what he has done so far about Unibank. But he must watch out. Something is happening and it mustn't end the way we fear. That is the point I want to make.
All right. Thank you. Right. So